So, the next game on Man vs Pixels, I've been playing Styx, Master of Shadows. This is a fantasy stealth adventure game. I wouldn't really call it a stealth action game. There's not a lot of action as other games. Mostly the gameplay revolves around staying undetected and killing quietly. We play like a little goblin character. It's a fantasy background, fantasy story. Other characters or other things in it, like elves and humans and the odd orc. So the gameplay is like largely just stealth gameplay. Yeah, evasion and assassination is what the order of the day is. There's no like specific kind of stealth mechanics that other games have, like a meter that shows you how detectable you are, and in any way, like as a thing on the screen or something on your character. It's basically you just stick to the dark areas, stick to the shadows, stay out of line of sight, and you're probably not going to get seen until the guards get very close to you. You can do the usual things in stealth games, like put out lights. In this game it's torches, because they're obviously fantasy games, so it's extinguishing torches and then sticking to the shadows that they create, and either avoiding the guards or stealth assassinating them. It's largely about pathfinding through the map, pathfinding your way around the guards, through the guards' patrol routes, out their line of sight. There's some climbing and light platforming elements as well. So, instead of just trying to, you don't have to stick to the ground. Quite often the easiest way through a level would be to find some climbing points and getting up into the rafters, onto the rooftops, and getting round that way. It's not like an Assassin's Creed parkour sort of climbing. You can't just climb up any wall. You have to find specific and not very obvious sometimes, because they are get hidden in the shadows, but these like little crosses, like metal iron crosses on the walls that you can climb up, and then you can jump to ledges and hang off ledges, climb up ledges and that, but you'll get to know them once you see them. And there is a thing in the game that you can use to highlight them. So it's like a medium-sized game, back from 2004, so the graphics are 2004 graphics, so they're not up to the kind of standard you'd be used to modern games, but doesn't really detract from it very much. It's not really a game that relies on magnificent graphics. It's got some cool cutscenes that are done as like artwork, still pieces of artwork, and so 2004 game to be expected, and not a massive budget game in 2004 either. So the story and kind of gameplay is that you're this character, this goblin type character, and like who you are and your story, it becomes part of the main story as well. So I'm not going to give anything away there really, but yeah, you are part of the main story, and you might not be what you think you are. So as for the actual gameplay itself, standard sort of stealth gameplay. The stealth kills, you sneak up behind somebody, you can kill them silently, or you can kill them non-silently. If you kill them non-silently, you might attract the attention of any nearby guards. Silent kills generally won't, although if there is a guard really close, you will still hear it. The out of stealth combat is a bit tricky and to be avoided. It's probably that way intentionally. They'd probably want you to be more in stealth, killing things in stealth. You can't really go around killing things out of stealth very easily. It's like a parry. Once you're killing people out of stealth, it's like a parry based combat system. You can't just like hack at people. If you're out of stealth, or if you're in combat out of stealth, you have to wait until they swing at you, parry their attack, and then once you've done that, couple or 3 times, depending on the opponent, you get to do an instant kill, but you've got to do the parries first, and the timing's tricky, and you'll usually get 1 or 2 shot by most of the human guards. Some of the human guards will 1-shot you, and some of them will 2-shot you. So as well as that, you could be getting shot once you aggro one guard. Anywhere near the area will come aggroed as well, and you'll be getting shot at with crossbows and whatnot from all over. So out of stealth combat is really to be avoided at all costs. The maps are a decent size. There's usually, well, there are always kind of multiple paths all the way through them. Like I said, usually climbing up and getting up high, going over the rafters. That gives you some good alternatives. They're supposedly all completable without killing anyone, without killing any of the guards. That'd be really tricky. I didn't even try. There's just some bits where if you're just relying on avoiding line of sight and avoiding detection, you're gonna have to really start memorizing the guards' patrol routes and getting your timing and your hiding spots down, perfectly. There are hiding spots around, like little grates you can hide under, chests you can hide in, that sort of thing, but you really have to start watching for them and looking out if you want to do it without killing anyone. And there's a achievement or a thing at the end of every level to get some extra skill points for doing it without killing anyone, but I didn't bother. Too tricky for me, and I quite like assassinating the guards anyway. So yeah, it's an RPG light. It's like I said, skill points at the end of each level get awarded for completing your main mission objectives, completing some secondary objectives, and like I said, getting through the level without killing anyone, without any alerts or being detected, anything like that. And there's not that many things in the skill or the RPG element of it. Like I say, it's only RPG light. There's like 4 categories of upgrades, and each of those categories has got like 4 things to upgrade each. It's like stealth, agility, combat, and like your amber vision, which is like what highlights things in the world, things to climb on and hide in places in there. Mainly the agility and the killing categories are the most useful, and the stealth, agility, and killing are the things things you want to start spending your skill points on first. These will give you more options, more ways to do stealth kills and assassinations, better climbing, and that kind of thing. But there's not a whole lot, and there's a lot of filler, a lot of things you'll see. You think, I'll never use that. That's not really very useful. That's quite pointless. So the RPG elements aren't that big.
But if you were to kill them,
So
do away with the bodies
what else? The enemies themselves, mostly human guards, different kind of types. Some are more heavily armoured than others, that are more impervious to things like throwing knives. They've got helmets, so throwing knives just bounce off them. You can't kill them that way. Sometimes you have those knights. They require a bit of some more lateral thinking to kill them. They're impervious to your stealth attacks, your sneak attacks as well, because they're too heavily armoured. So, but there are other, let's say, environmental elements that can get rid of them for you. And as you go on later in the game, there's some other kind of races that turn up, and other enemy types that turn up as well, with various other different quirks and things. There's these bugs, these beetles that are blind but have really good hearing, so you have to be very quiet, very slow when you're going through them. There's some light puzzle bits, mostly flipping switches that open gates and doors, that kind of thing. Nothing too hard. Quite obvious once you sort of work it out. There's a few awkward platforming bits I found. The jumping and platforming isn't too intuitive, especially when you're used to something like modern, like Assassin's Creed games and that, where the the climbing and the jumping is so easy now. So yeah, some of the jumping and platforming can be a little bit awkward, and so can some of the pathfinding through the maps sometimes. But it's overcome with just some patience and perseverance and a bit of luck. It's nothing too bad. So overall, it's a decent sort of stealth adventure game. It's got a decent little story to it. It's a couple of frustrating bits. Later on in the game, you get some reused areas, some reused maps, which kind of sort of makes the late game a bit more dull, than the early game. I think any game that reuses assets like that kind of falls into that trap. But overall, yes, yeah, pretty decent. It's full price. It's £24.99, and it's like 21 hours completion for me on my playthrough. So I'd say for that sort of price, it's probably not worth the full price. Not for a game of this old, anyway. It's very regularly on sale though. Often crops up in most of the Steam sales, so it's a good buy when it gets down to sort of in the £10 range. Anything less than £10, then it's well worth picking up. Definitely recommend it, especially if you like the kind of games, those kind of stealth adventure games, like Thief, the Dishonored games. Now it might look a bit dated compared to Dishonored now, but if you like the original Thief, that's sort of from that time era, probably a little bit before. So yeah, it's good to play if you like those kind of stealth games. It had a sequel a few years later, and that sequel is one of the next games on my list. So I'll be getting to that soon. So that was Man vs. Styx, Master of Shadows, Man 1.